Welcome back to the news today. This is a one-on-one. 2.5 years ago, the parties that represented the right side of the Israeli political spectrum were defined as parties with elderly leadership that don't understand the new generation, and polls showed a decline in their power. Then came Economy Minister Naftali Bennett. He unified the parties and gave them a new look that made the Jewish Home Party more appealing to the right-wing and center-right voters. Polls today show that in the next election, Naftali Bennett's party could increase its power by 30%. With me tonight is Dr. Hillel Ben Sasson, research fellow and program manager at Molad, the Center for the Renewal of Israeli Democracy. Good evening. Thank you very much for coming.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
So how come Naftali Bennett, economy minister, Naftali, except the fact that he's a really nice guy, became so popular in Israel?
First of all, I think he's an extremely talented politician. I think he speaks, I don't know him personally, but from what I gather, he speaks in a very nonchalant, non-formal manner. He's very likable. He's full of charm. He has this, he has this aura of an glorious warrior in the elite units of the Israeli defense forces. He's a successful high-tech millionaire. I mean, he's in a sense the quintessence of the Israeli dream, solidified in one person.
So being a charmer, being charismatic, this is the only thing that you need in order to charm the Israeli public? No,
actually you need much more than that. If we look back on the religious Zionist right, we see a movement that was always torn between a deep desire to integrate into the larger hegemonic secular Zionist majority in Israel, and some kind of avant-garde aspiration to lead that camp, to be a force that brings the Messiah or the Messianic age. For these people, the people that wear kippas, such as myself, the state of Israel is much more than a means to bring the well-being to its citizens. It's actually the manifestation of divine will within this world. So God, when he wants to act in this world, he acts through the state mechanism. So for these people, the state is a holy vessel. And they want to create it much holier, which is to complete the redemption.
You know what is amazing, because when I'm talking with people in the last few days, we're always talking about the fact that for the last 6 years, Benjamin Netanyahu ruled this country, and he managed to actually stay in his seat, although a lot of achievements were not accomplished. So the question that is rising is, and because a lot of people and a lot of analysts are saying that in the next election, probably Benjamin Netanyahu will again win these elections. So what happened exactly? What is it exactly? Is it because until the 70s the left ruled here in this country, and then maybe the, let's say, Sephardi part of the society felt neglected, and now it's their revenge, or what?
It's an interesting question, because listen, for give or take 5 years in the middle, the right wing has had the reins of power in Israel since 1977. We're almost closing 4 decades now, and Israel has not become a better place for the poor and the needy, etc. So the Likud, or the right-wing parties, have basically betrayed their own constituency. Now, why don't we see a change of government, a change of coalition, a return to the more social democratic, progressive forces in Israel? I think this attests to the very fragmentary, even I would say dysfunctional state of the Israeli progressive camp. The Israeli progressive camp, for many years now, I would say since the mid-90s, has lost its way.
But if we're looking at the, let's say, political strategy of Benjamin Netanyahu, of what at least the Likud or part of the Likud is representing now, it's not social, more like a capitalistic, let's say, point of view. You need to take care of yourself and the state, and that's it. Let's say, this middle class, the poor people, are not benefiting in any way from this government, from the last 6 years government that we're seeing here in Israel, and yet they are voting for the Likud again, and yet they will tell you, we don't have any other choice. this is the prime minister, this is the leader, and we're voters of the Likud all our lives and we won't change it. Although their economic situation is not changing.
So this is where Naftali Bennett kicks in, and now we return, because the ideology on which Naftali Bennett grew up is a very alienating ideology for most of Israelis. I mean, with all due respect, look outside. No Messiah is coming, and this place with, all of our love and joy and loyalty to the state of Israel, and it's there for us, and we're not there for it. Naftali Bennett managed through a very sophisticated mechanism, of communications consultants and rebranding of not only him, but of the whole religious right apparatus around him. He managed to take that agenda under the table. And instead of that, he brought to the front a sense of collective, communitarian, a little sticky Jewish identity, which is shallow and hollow, to say the truth. What is Jewish in the Jewish home? Nothing. But it works because it speaks to people's sentiments.
And more than that, he managed to blur the extreme ideology that is standing behind his party and behind his party members. So this is something that it seems that the youngsters that's supposed to be more liberal, more open to the big world, or to the Western, are more Westernized, are finding this very appealing.
So it's actually fascinating because, in fact, when you look at Naftali Bennett's party and the people in the party and the kind of policies that Naftali Bennett, as a minister, and his members of the party advanced in the recent term of the Israeli parliament, it's not only antisocial; it's extremely sectorial. These people take care primarily. They take care of their sector. They benefit and discriminate their own education system, their own settlements, etc., etc. However, nobody has managed to call the bluff yet. It's fascinating. It's really fascinating.
Although we're seeing what is happening what just happened in the preliminary elections right now,
yeah.
that he managed to do some kind of elections in his own party, but actually there were no elections because there were 20 people competing for 4 seats? So how come his own party members are not understanding the bluff that you're talking about?
They actually do, but they don't shoot outside of the tent. I mean, they only grudge and complain within the internal circles. If you read the weekly leaflets that they hand out in synagogues, which I'm sure you do, as I do, then you'd see that they're full of resentment to many of his anti-democratic moves within the party. He's taken over the party and he's reshaped the party. But I think the challenge of understanding what Naftali Bennett is doing here and his popularity is the same challenge of understanding what the success of the Tea Party in the United States, because it's precisely the same. We're talking about ultranationalist, anti-gay, anti-liberal, white, predominantly white, anti-immigration and anti-minority elites that are getting votes of disenfranchised populations because they speak in a language of fear and, I would say, pseudo-solidarity that for many people is very compelling. Even if you are poor and needy, but somebody tells you that you belong, somebody tells you that you are on par, and it can be a complete lie, it works.
In one small sentence, if you can tell me, who is standing behind him?
We're talking about a huge population with a rabbinical elite and world of ideologues and yeshivas and rabbis who are basically thinking for the past 60-something years about how to become the elite in the state of Israel, and they have had many failures. Let me tell you, until now, even if you look at 1994 with the Oslo agreements, if you look at 2005, when you look at the internal debate within the community that Naftali Bennett represents, they are talking in a language that's a language of a deep failure. They said, we completely failed. The Israeli public is not with us.
Yes,
therefore,
unbelievable. What you're telling me is
therefore,
unbelievable.
we have to convert them. And then they began sending various groups into townships within Israel and, starting to convert people, so to speak.
Mr. Ben Sasson, thank you for this fascinating talk with us. Thank you for being with us. And thank you, our viewers.